Hello, welcome back to Quick Review Thursday here on Indie Film Cafe. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got a awesome guest. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Hey, I'm Steve. I guess I should use my name on there. yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm Steve from Excelsior Movie Reviews, and I used to be kind of known as a Steve Ninja, and my name's kind of changed. I've got more of like a costume now, with the hat and everything, and I always have glasses because I can't see without the lights.
So you
But
you rebranded yourself.
sort of, yeah, well, I started off as Steve Ninja, and then nobody could find my channel back then, so I
That was smart to change it to a name like nobody else could like basically search, like
right,
necessarily do. Yeah. All right. Well, Steve and I are reviewing a little film from 2001, or I think it's 2002. I think it's
2001,
2,
yeah.
or that area, that time frame. And it's called Tart, and it was not a so I had discovered it probably in the like video stores. Like I saw it there. I never watched it. And I don't even know if I own this or not. I might. Probably don't. I probably have to buy it. I will buy the DVD. It's an indie film. It stars Dominique Swain, who I swoon over. I love her, and I've interviewed her before. She's really sweet.
Wow,
Yeah, and she really like if she has an official Instagram page. If you follow her, she will like comment back if like your comment is sort of, there to be commented back or whatever. Because I've said stuff on her things and she's replied,
wow. I've got
and
notes here. I didn't realize she was in Face Off and also Alpha Dog
oh
years ago.
yeah,
I didn't
she
realize that.
she is most known for being in what is it, Lolita, the remake of the
Stanley Kubrick movie.
Stanley Kubrick movie. And she like I will watch her what is it, I watch her like live videos on Instagram, and people call her Lolita on all the time on there. I kind of feel bad for her. Also stars Brad Renfro, who unfortunately has passed away in 2008.
Right.
He was a staple of my youth. Looking back at Tom and Huck and The Client, and some amazing movies. Bully is an amazing film. Even though also stars Bijou Phillips, who's also in this movie. Um, Interestingly enough, Brad Renfro has worked with both Bijou Phillips and Dominique Swain in other like movies or whatnot. So it's kind of cool to see like a movie where they're all together, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Yeah, so he died in 2008. He was 25, and in this movie,
Mhm.
so they actually used actors in this movie that are actually in high school or that age in that age group, 17, 18, because I thought that was really interesting. And yeah, I remember seeing him. He was in app what's it, App Pupil, and also in Ghost World, which is a Terry Zwigoff movie, which I like a lot. And
Yeah, we did that on Criterion Watch, but it was like I wasn't there for it. It was when I was living in LA and they were doing it in Virginia. And so kind of missed out on that one, but I love that movie too.
oh
Scarlett
yeah,
Johansson and um I'm blanking on the name, but
yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, it's
yeah.
I can't recall. I had to look her name up too, but yeah, that movie, Terry Zwigoff, he only did what, five movies. He only directed five. He had like back issues, and he was I guess he had a big run in with Billy Bob Thornton on Bad Santa, and he didn't do the sequel. And I think he really hasn't done any besides the five films. He hasn't really done anything else.
That sucks that because he's great. Crumb is amazing. I don't know if you ever seen Crumb, but
Oh
that's
yeah,
in the Criterion collection, just like Ghost World is. So if I would definitely recommend Crumb. I don't own it yet. It's one of the ones I'm gonna buy eventually from Criterion. There's so many, you know.
I'm
Ah,
looking.
there you go. There's
I'm looking
Ghost
it up
World.
right now because she was in Walking Dead. I know the person it
Thora
is.
Birch, Thora
Or,
Birch, that was her
right.
name.
Or,
I know the name in my head. I just had to like, because she was in that movie Now and Then.
Yeah.
I believe like a bunch of the Christine Ricci and a bunch of other actors who are sort of kind of come and gone. I mean they're still out there doing stuff, but like sort of all of it, like they were like at that time they were just child actors who were
Mhm.
just trying to whatever get out there some more. And Brad Renfro was a child actor that was unfortunately he died of a heroin overdose, and that kind of sucks to hear.
Yeah. This movie has drug use in it too, which is really smart.
Yeah, they have a lot of cocaine, uh,
Alcohol. Yeah.
alcohol, everything sort of the kids were sort of into, especially like rich kids who
Right.
could sort of use mommy and daddy's money to go buy that stuff and support whatever and just get into trouble. And um so I'll go into a little bit of the story real quick. So basically Dominique Swain plays a girl who she's really sweet, really down to earth, kind of girl. And she's not a rich kid, but like I guess her dad was rich, and so she was able to go to this private school and with her best friend whose family's rich. Interestingly enough, Bijou Phillips's mother was played by Melanie Griffith, who played Lolita's mother in
Okay.
Lolita. So that's a pretty cool like little twist, but she's only in it for like a
It's
minute.
good. Like a minute or two.
Yeah,
When I saw her name in the credit, that's the one thing that kind of attracted me to this movie is the cast. Uh,
right.
Melanie Griffith's in this, and just all the people that are in it, and then she's in it. If you blink, she's basically out of the movie. So she
Everybody else was big though, like even like
right,
Misha Barton's character was big, and
right,
even what's her name? From Lacey Chabert, I think that's how
right.
you say Chabert, sure Chabert. I don't know, like
Yeah.
whatever, however you say her name. Sorry, Lacey. She's been in a lot of stuff. I think she
Wow.
started back in like the '90s and everything.
She's like probably the biggest star. I mean, other than the adults, she's like the
Yeah,
biggest star in this movie because she's the voice of Mae Griffin on Family Guy.
yeah.
She's in Lost in Space. She's in Mean Girls. She's in not another teen movie.
Yeah,
She's on the TV show Party of Five because
yeah.
she was a star. Like I know her. That was
So
interesting. She was in this.
amazing, yeah. I actually got to meet for a second, got to meet Misha Barton, but never got to actually like, really have like a conversation with her.
Oh,
She worked on a guy I know's movie called The Toy Box, and some guys I know, and I interviewed them and didn't interview her because she was busy signing autographs. Like she had a line up the wazoo. So I
wow.
think I said something like hi to her or something, but like we didn't really have like a conversation. She didn't have time, and then when she wasn't signing, I wasn't gonna bother her. Like she was an actual celebrity. You just leave them alone. You let them go do if they come to you,
Right,
that's
right.
fine, but you don't go to them. You leave them alone and everything. I kind of did that. So
Well, I thought she was interesting because when I saw her face, I thought, what do I know her from? And then I remember she was in The Sixth Sense. She's
yeah.
one of the kids that's getting poisoned.
But
But
I think she was in like the OC or one of those shows, and that was like her big thing. So yeah, so it was so basically Dominique Swain and Bijou Phillips are best friends. Bijou Phillips gets kicked out of school for having drugs on her and everything, which is so funny that everybody else has drugs and then does drugs, whatever. But she gets busted for that. So she gets basically expelled from the private school and has to go to a public school. When she's in the public school and she's in the private school, it kind of makes like a barrier between both of them, and they don't really get to hang out.
mhm,
So Dominique Swain ends up hanging out with the other kids who they sort of made fun of. They used
mhm.
to sort of like, say these people were not the people. One of the people, by the way, was the sister of Dominique Swain, Chelsea
Oh,
Swain,
wow.
who I believe now is Chelsea Swain Sullivan. I think she's like married. She hasn't acted in the business for like since 2000 and I don't know, 12 or something. I don't know, something long time. She has not been in the business for a while. And but yeah, she was like the blonde girl that was like I think she was dating Brad Renfro's character, if I'm correct, or something,
Wow.
you know. So it's funny that the two sisters were sort of, vying for the same guy, and but they weren't really sisters, they're playing not sisters. So um and then was it so then basically the I guess the Tart part, and you know what I think this is, of like sort of a remake of, is like the Scarlet Letter, a
Okay.
little bit like a high school Scarlet Letter, because instead of like adultery being like the word in A, she kind of gets branded like it would be like a slut, kind of thing. She gets kind of branded a slut by everybody because she sleeps with Brad Renfro's character, which is weird because he slept with other people and nobody cared, but she did it, and he went around bragging or whatever, talking about it, and then starts dating another girl, and that kind of causes like rifts between everybody and issues, and then there's other shit. There's darker shit that I don't know if I really want to go into, because I really want people to see the movie, and I don't really want to spoil everything. But there is shit in this movie that gets dark, you
Yeah,
know.
that's really very
So what did
dark.
you think of that? Did you
I
like, were
wasn't
you expecting that?
No, no. I mean, what happens near the end with Brad Renfro and Bijou Phillips? I didn't wasn't expecting that, and the whole thing. Brad Renfro and Scott Thompson. Kids in the Hall and the
Oh
Larry
yeah.
show. It's like I was surprised he was in. I mean, I saw his name in the casting, but I was surprised that he was in this movie so much, and they find this character and they assume that she's not breathing anymore, and they they decided they had to get her out of the apartment. So what they were going to do was horrendous, and then they find out, oh, she is breathing, and I think she just coughed just now, and the whole thing, that was a yeah, I
She
wasn't
gets up and she got walks away, and I'm
yeah.
like, where the hell?
Wow.
What? You
I thought this
know?
was going to be like some light romance kind of movie, and it's a dark, kids with those serious issues, and also the director I thought was strange. Christina Wayne, she's like kind of a screenwriter. She was the writer and director of the film. I don't think she ever did any other movies after this. She only did
No.
one.
Well, she was also a network executive for
Right,
AMC.
right.
And so so if you look at her credits, it's like network executive for like Breaking Bad, and I don't know if she did The Walking Dead,
Hmm.
or whatnot, but she did like Breaking Bad, she did a bunch of those movies, or those shows. Let me see. Yeah,
One of,
Christina Wayne was her name.
yeah, when I looked her up on Wikipedia, if you look under the film, under her name, it doesn't even link to her wiki profile. You can, if you can look it up, Christina Wayne. You can look up her. It comes up as a in wiki where you can look it up individually, and it refers to Tart in there. But if you look at wiki under the director's name and writer, it doesn't link to her profile on Wikipedia for some reason.
Mm,
Sometimes
yeah.
the actors or directors they have control of their own wiki page, and
Yeah, they don't like, I
yeah,
don't know if she necessarily wants like this on that
right,
stuff, like, or
right.
whatever, because like it's not a bad movie, but it's a very darker, more disturbing thing, and especially if you're like if you're a network executive producing big time movies or shows or whatever, and you did an indie movie, it was probably because you wanted to get your start somewhere, and that's where you started. You made that movie, and then it helped you get contacts or whatever, and then you moved your way up. I believe she started working at AMC, and then sort of like worked her way up to do like a network exec, and then she left, and now she works for NBC. Like, I looked her up, and apparently there was if you just look up her name,
Yeah.
there's some articles about the fact that she has left NBC as like one role, but she's like staying there helping them out, but like they wanted her to move out to like Saudi Arabia,
Oh,
and stuff.
okay.
And it sounds terrible. I'm not dissing Saudi Arabia, but women aren't treated very well in Saudi Arabia. So I think that might have been a little bit of the reason why she can't go out there and be a part of that. But like I've never even heard of MBC. I've heard of NBC, but never MBC. So I had no idea what that was or even why she's involved with that and not like why she's not still with AMC, which is something that
Well, yeah, I wonder if this movie was it? I mean, it's supposed to be in New York, I believe, but I wonder if they actually. I know they filmed shots in front of buildings and such in
they
New
also
York.
filmed in Canada.
Yeah, so it's probably in Canada, but they just stole shots from New York. But I was looking at as I was watching it, this movie was released June 15th of 2001. So anybody that knows what happened 3 months later, that I was looking at the skyline to see if I can locate buildings and I couldn't. That's made me wonder if it was. Yeah, I think it probably was. It was a
I
Canadian.
was. I read into that.
Looked
Like
up, yeah.
I did. They did shoot some in New York to make the New York shots, but like most of it was Canada, which is funny because like there's other movies like Jason Takes Manhattan, which
Mhm.
most of the movie actually takes place in
Canada.
Vancouver or
All
something,
right.
or whatever. So
Yeah,
it's funny because it's not actually Manhattan. He kind of takes Manhattan for 2 seconds, but then he's in Vancouver for most of the rest of it.
yeah, because they
Um,
showed like a famous like hotel in New York to kind of just establishing shot, and then a lot of the other stuff could be all filmed indoors anywhere. They walk the streets, but they were supposed to be like outside of the city, like
mhm.
outside of Manhattan, where it wasn't. So you can get away with, I guess, showing not showing the big skyline. You can get away with showing other shots and fake it to be New York when it wasn't. But yeah,
Yep.
that kind of stuff. Just I was just really hoping that I could see the skyline and point, see the buildings. And anytime I watch a New York film, I always look for, before 2001, I always look for the skyline just to see if they could show a shot of the buildings. And that was kind of what disappointed me a little bit there. But
I I don't think like I don't know like New York to me was not even like because like some movies Woody Allen will
mhm.
do like Manhattan and he'll make New York into its own character basically. This movie New York was just like a location, a setting, but it could have been anywhere and it felt like anywhere, USA, but it was Canada, So it wasn't even anywhere USA, but it felt like it could be that. And I think that's what they were going for. They didn't want to like make it, I don't think they wanted to make it a specific,
Right.
like, oh, these are Manhattan snobs or these
Yeah,
are
yeah.
Brooklyn snobs or, I mean, did you
Well,
notice none of the kids had accents really?
right,
Mm.
right. I mean, I think a lot of like kids that are well educated, they typically don't have that, like a real New York accent. They grew up in Manhattan, whatever. They're not going to have that accent. It's kind of
Maybe
white,
not.
more educated.
Uh,
The
Misha had an accent, and
Yeah, well,
and I think they tried to make that into a point, like that they put her as like that she was. I think they said something about how she's she only got up in grades or whatever, all this stuff because she had an accent or what she got in because she had an accent. Like her parents weren't like rich or something. But they felt like they needed to give her because she was from another country. I don't know. Whatever.
well, yeah, as far as filming it in Canada, in the 2000s, that was really common. It's supposed to be a U.S. city, but they would film in Canada because it was so cheap to film there at that time. In New York, I'm sure it would have been impossible to make a low budget film there in New York. No way they could afford that. And now it's more common for movies to get filmed in Los Angeles and various U.S. cities, like in Georgia. You always see the Georgia, it's sponsored by made in Georgia. It's much more common. But in the early 2000s, that was impossible. Most horror films were made in Canada back then. It was the thing to do back in the 2000s.
Oh, we're almost up to the time to just probably wrap it up in a little bit, but because wow, see, like this is the thing, like we could have probably talked for like hours on this movie, and probably done it, but I thought it would be a quick review. I didn't even think it would be that good,
Yeah,
to be honest. I thought it was gonna be crap.
yeah,
I never heard anybody talk about it, you
Yeah.
know. But I feel like it's an underrated gem. Like I feel like people might actually get something out of it. You know, my only problem with the movie, and I guess we'll talk about that, then we'll probably try to wrap it up, sort of, and maybe get your problems with it. But my like biggest problem with it was the fact that there wasn't like there was no real ending to it, you
Right.
know? Like the stuff happens, she makes up with her mom, that's it. Like, and it felt like that was way too fast. Like all of that stuff didn't feel like earned, didn't feel like whatever, and it felt like almost like a Hallmark moment,
Yeah.
not even what the movie was before. It felt like somebody maybe in a studio, like a producer or something, said we need a happy ending. We can't end on like this, because I feel like the ending should have been her finding out about what happened, and
Mhm.
that should have just ended. And I would have been like, damn, like that's hardcore. Like that's an ending right there. Then, when it all gets tied up at the end and everything's all sort of, even though it's sad, it's still, whatever. Um, I did like the fact that they did have the kids being still douchey and stuff at the end, like they were just still terrible people,
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
very, very much not politically correct at that time. Not PC at all for that.
Uh-uh.
That not like you couldn't make this kind of movie now. Um,
You can say half the shit they said.
right, right. And I did want to mention also the father, Michael Murphy. Thought it was interesting that he was in this because I think he's a good actor, but he really isn't not really in the movie a lot. But if this is a Swain's Dominique Swain's father,
Yeah, he
and
has like that one real big dinner scene
yeah, he
where he's
gives her
trying to
money.
figure out how to give her the money
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything.
Like
And
he also had a birthday. I think his birthday. No, it's her birthday, but
it's her birthday.
he forgets to call whatever it is.
Which
Her
I'm like, I mean, she's what, 16 right
yeah,
then or something? She's old enough to like she shouldn't be caring about that, literally,
right.
I don't think. But
But
I think her mom cared a little bit more, maybe.
yeah, but Michael Murphy. Just recently I watched McCabe and Mrs. Miller. I don't know if
Mhm.
you've ever seen that, the Robert Altman
I've
movie.
heard of it, yeah.
He's in that. He's also in
Nice.
MASH. He's also in Nashville, so he's in a lot of Robert Altman movies, and
There
he
you
was also
go.
in X Men: The Last Stand, which is I think the third film, which a lot of people didn't like all that much in the X Men franchise.
I
But I thought,
think
well,
I liked it. I don't think
yeah, it was
I
okay. It was
that was
okay.
all
It
right,
went over the top compared to the first two X Men movies, but it was okay. Anything with Hugh Jackman in it, playing Wolverine.
I can't wait to see Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm sorry.
It's like,
I'm not big like I'm not a fan of Disney now necessarily, but I feel like that feels like the most anti-Disney,
right, it does.
one. And so I'm like, more people see that, maybe Disney will start changing their what, probably not, but
Yeah, because Ryan Reynolds even makes points to talk about Disney, and Disney's not they won't allow that, in a Disney
yeah,
film. He makes those,
yeah.
you know,
I can't
yeah,
wait to see it. It's gonna be fun.
I think so too. Yeah, it's out this month. Yeah, so
Yeah, it's coming out this month. That's crazy.
yeah, I
That's
think it'll do well. I think I love the previews that I've seen. The stuff with Deadpool and Wolverine, and they hear the phone go off in the theater, and they tell the people to turn the phones off or put them on
I haven't
silent.
actually seen that in the theater yet because I haven't been in the theater in a while.
Yeah, it seems like they really kind of get it, and they break the fourth wall a lot, which Deadpool does that. If you've seen the first two, he does that a lot. So it's just I like his humor in it, and it just seems like hopefully it has a lot of X-Men characters and Marvel characters in it that we hopefully it breaks that in there, and it makes it a little bit even better than a lot of the Deadpool movies. Hopefully it makes it more of a movie that Marvel fans will like it, because
Yeah.
they're not making as many Marvel films as they used to, for good reason, because they played way too many.
Yeah,
So
they did too many too fast. But anyway, that's another like
all
we could
right,
have a
that's it.
whole conversation on that on our thing. But anyway, yeah, yeah, that guy was a great actor, the dad. Um I, I like the doorman. I
Yeah,
wish he had a little bit more role. Um it was interesting to hear like that he was sort of busted for all the stuff that Brad Renfro basically did and stuff, and we find that out and whatnot. I mean, uh, I don't know. It just to me it was a good movie, and it was dark and twisted and fucked up, and I kind of like that. Like I was not expecting that. I thought it was called Tart. The picture was of a school girls thing, so I thought there was gonna be a little bit of sex stuff in it, especially with Bijou Phillips. Like,
Yeah,
if you've ever seen Bully, she gets like fully naked in that fucking shit and
right.
stuff, and has sex and whatnot. And so I kind of expected more of that. No nudity in this film. If you were
Right.
expecting nudity, you're wrong, because it
Yeah,
did not
yeah.
have any.
Yeah, I was going to point out Bijou Phillips for people don't know who she is now because she's not as big of a star as she used to be, but she was in Almost Famous. I was just watching Almost Famous like last night, and she has a role in that. She's also in Hostel Part Two, and she's famous for her dad being John Phillips from the Mamas and Papas, and she's a half sister of Mackenzie Phillips from, if you ever saw, was it one day at a time, the TV show back in the day. That's her half sister, so that's how she has the Phillips kind of that. She's already kind of a rich girl in real life, but in the movie she plays the kind of an opposite kind of character where she's
Yeah,
kind
well,
of a
yeah, she was rich, but she wasn't like the snobby rich in
right,
that. And
right.
I liked she was pooping a lot. Like,
That was I
that was
couldn't believe that.
odd. Like,
Yeah, I
there
thought that was
was
kind of
like a
class.
lot. I thought it
Yeah,
was what?
that was kind of classless. Like she handed the stuff to the other kids and then walked away, and then she
Well, not
stood.
just that, but she sent her friend, she sent Dominique Swain shit, in a
She
like that
did,
looked
yeah.
like flowers or something. She opened it up and it was shit, and I'm like, so that was her shit again. She like
Brand,
apparently this is what she does, and I was like, oh God, like what is
yeah.
wrong with her? Like, but I don't know, like she's just a messed up kid. Um,
So I mean, Rotten Tomatoes gives this movie like 30%. Um,
I mean, I get it. A lot of people may not like this movie. I enjoyed it, but some people might just kind of be like, to it or whatever. Um,
it's on
I, s-
Tubi, so it's definitely worth checking out for free.
yeah, it's on Tubi and apparently Amazon Prime and I think like
Okay.
Roku and all these other things that you can watch. So just go check it out and make up your own mind. I mean, it's weird. It's got some really fucked upness to it, but it's like all in all, I was pleasantly surprised. Like once again, I was going in thinking, I think you even thought that too. Like you were going in because you were telling me like, you were like, can I be like 100% honest about my, review or whatever? I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like I don't know these people. So I know Dominique, but I don't know her. Like I
I
don't.
really didn't know her who she was until you say you've seen a lot more of her. I really didn't know her face, and
Yeah, I'm a fan, and so I want to keep watching everything she's been in. The movie that she was in that we did last year, Girl, was really good, and I want every season to do another Dominique Swain movie I haven't seen. There's a bunch on Tubi. They're all indies, she's basically an indie queen, and she became like a Lifetime girl. She does a lot of Lifetime
oh,
made
really,
like the thriller movies, directed by David Dakota usually. That's the guy that did like The Brotherhood and a bunch of other indie
all right.
horror films and stuff. And now he's got into to Lifetime. So,
But that's with Brotherhood. That's not Brotherhood of the Wolf, and you're talking about a
no, no,
different
no, no, no.
French movie. I'm
It's
thinking.
called The Brotherhood. It's like a series of I think four homoerotic movies usually involving like guys in high school or college or whatever, but like the first one's a fraternity of vampires. The
Okay.
next one's like the Brotherhood 2 is like they're warlocks or something in a high school. um so yeah, it's
I was
pretty
going to
bad.
point out. Yeah, I was going to point out the photo behind you. There's the woman that's right. If you can't see the full photo, but right above you, it has a. Is it Nora Zetner? She's one of the characters, one of the rich girls,
Yeah,
and also the guy to on your far right. That's a Miles Jeffrey, I think his name is.
Miles Jeffrey, yeah, he played Toby.
He played the brother. Well, he had Jacob.
Oh
I'm
no,
sorry,
no.
Pickett
That's
Pitts, like the guy with the long hair to the right there. I'm sorry. Yeah,
yeah.
he was Toby Logan. Yeah, Miles Jeffrey was Pete Storm. He was the little brother of Dominique Swain in the movie.
Hmm.
I was looking at the IMDb here, and so
Yeah.
I don't know who either one of those two are. The
Yeah, I
Norm,
don't know them, but yeah, you know, they did an okay job. The brother was a little weird. I almost felt like that was another movie.
yeah, the mother was like she was really nice to him, but because he had some
Well, because I
anxiety.
think yeah, he has some problems. He has some issues, and stuff. Like he
Yeah,
thought he was he was a hypochondriac. He
right,
thought he had like every disease known to man and stuff. And I really like that tapeworm scene. I
right.
thought that was hilarious. Just it seemed like a brother and sister kind of relationship, and they did a great job.
Yeah, I didn't like how the mother and Dominic Swain's character got into it all the time. I just it kind of got old, and that they had the big wrap up at the end of the movie that was completely different. The whole thing, but
Yeah, no, it didn't make any sense. I was like, really, how like why? Like, and especially because, like, when she got home from the whole stuff,
mm-hmm.
she still was acting the same way she'd been doing, right? To her, kind of like, I was just, hoping that I'm just glad you're not, blah blah blah. Like she was all hardcore, like mean to her, and then all of a sudden like the next day or something, like or whatever, like she
Sure.
chases her down and tells
Yeah,
her and whatever. And I was like, I feel like that was just somebody saying, let's have a happy ending. That's it. Like because I literally I just get so mad at that. Like that was a stupid scene.
yeah. For an
And
indie film, it's like or a low budget film like that, you wouldn't think that they would kind of sell out in that way necessarily. But I just didn't like the way the mother was just on her case the whole movie. Just
I
said,
just think they were afraid like they weren't going to get any any awards at festivals or something by having a sad ending. And really the sad endings are how you get the awards. Like
yeah,
the really effed up endings where people like think about it afterwards. I
right,
mean, when you look at like something like Clerks and they
mm-hmm.
had originally Dante get shot,
Right, right,
yeah,
right.
that that might have won some awards, but
Yeah,
it
it was
wouldn't
a franchise.
have it wouldn't have been a franchise and would not been what,
But it's a comedy. It's supposed to be lighthearted and just fun, and Clerks would not have been that way anymore. And they would, yeah. I'm glad they didn't stick with that original ending, and they made it much more fun. And
Yeah, until the third one, and then
yeah,
let's not get into that. That's a whole nother discussion too.
right.
All right, well, I think that's about it. There was probably more we could discuss. I'm surprised I was surprised there was more. I thought this was going to be an easy like let's talk about this for 20 minutes because this was not what, whatever. But it was pretty good. I would definitely highly recommend it. So if you guys
Yeah,
get a chance to see it,
yeah.
check it out, right? Would you say that?
Yeah, I would say check it out for sure. On Tubi, like for sure, it's worth a watch for sure. And I think it's only had a DVD release. It's never had a Blu-ray release because I obviously didn't make that much money. Or, I think it
Well,
lost
I think
money.
it could have like I think it could do well on Blu-ray. Like I think if somebody like not Umbrella, but like some company like that released it on Blu-ray, I think Kino maybe because like this is an indie film, and stuff. And I feel like a lot of these just get sort of
Mhm.
tossed under, under the bus and people just don't know about it or whatever. And thank God for Tubi having movies like this because I never would have like, done this if I hadn't saw it on Tubi.
Mhm.
So, you know.
Right.
But everybody, thank you. Thank you, Steve. This was awesome having you on. Like I'm excited. I can't wait to have you on again somewhere else,
Oh,
some
sure.
other time. You
Yeah,
know.
last time I was on like in August of last year, right before I went to Vegas. Remember, I was on a Friday night, so we had a big review there that it lasted a while. But yeah, this is a weeknight for me, so I didn't have as much. But we just talked about this one film, and you can't talk
Yeah.
about this movie for that long. So there's not really a lot enough to say about it. But yeah, I like I said, I would still recommend people check it out on Tubi just to see this young cast, see Brad Renfro, when he was,
'Still alive.
7 years alive. 7 years later, he was gone forever, which is really
Yeah.
sad. Unfortunately, his character in that movie and this movie kind of resembled his real life, and that was kind of a
He
warning
did
sign.
that for a lot of movies. I mean,
Yeah,
Bully,
yeah.
he was like that, and a lot of other things. He kind of did drugs and a lot of whatever in his movies. So it's sad, but it is one of those things where that's what a lot of people got into, especially when they got money. Start getting money. What are you gonna spend it on? If I were rich and had money, I'd spend it on movies. But
That's what I do.
all
I get
right.
a
But
collection.
like I'm not I'm not into drugs. I'm really not. And so none of this like was like a trigger or worried me or even the drinking just didn't feel like, it didn't bother me at all or anything. But it does have underage drinking, underage or underage sex kind of stuff. Not underage sex, but like sex with underage, supposedly underage girls, who I believe they were, because if this was 2001, Brad Renfro at least was old enough, like he was in his 20s by then, so playing 16. So, but still, it, if you don't like that kind of stuff, don't watch this movie. You will not
Like I said,
like it.
it's not PC. It's not nowadays. It's definitely a 2001 kind of movie.
They say a lot, like I said before, they say a lot of words that you cannot say today.
No, no, no. Especially with Scott Thompson's character. If his he in real life. That I couldn't believe they went there. Some of the stuff his personal life. That character from Kids in the Hall, which
Hmm.
is the guy's hilarious, and Larry Sanders Show, that whole thing.
Yep.
I haven't seen him in a while. Besides Kids in the Hall, I haven't really seen him in a while. And I
Yep.
watched Kids in the Hall all the time in the '90s, and then so I was a big fan of that comedy troupe. They were Canadian, and they're Canadian comedy troupe, and
There you go. I think maybe that's why he was in the movie.
he's living right nearby, and
They're like, let's cast him.
yeah, and Melanie Griffith, I think she made a cameo in this just because she was probably did it as a favor to the writer, the director writer. Uh,
Maybe, or she wanted some more work, quick work. One day, just have one scene with Dominique Swain, and then that was probably another reason is because so that they can have a scene together again, or whatever.
right,
So, wonderful. All
yeah.
right, everybody. Well, join me in 2 weeks. I'll be back with Paul. I think Paul's going to be doing one. If not, I'm going to be doing another one. But until then, thank you, Steve. Check out Steve's review page on YouTube. I'll put a link at the bottom so you guys can check it out and tune in. And everybody, have a good one.
Yep.
Bye.